Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Masters of Assetto Corsa Competizione, hosted by Formula Racing League, who are sponsored by SimGrid Racing. My name is Alex and I will be your commentator for today. Today we are at Spa-Francorchamps, and I already have to excuse myself for the pronunciation of the French names. I have a bit of a feeling that the French names clash a bit with the sounds that I can make with my German origin. It's always a bit complicated, so in case I mispronounce stuff, yeah, that just happens. The qualifying session started now, and while the Pro-Ams are driving the 12 minutes of their qualifying, we will take a look at the standings, and then we'll jump right back here. So wonderful, you can see the standings at the moment of the Pro category drivers. There's still Davy Hill and Grigory Ivanov fighting for the lead, which is quite interesting after 6 races, if I see that correctly. Yes, after 6 races they have exactly the same amount of points, so a tight battle going on there. Behind them, Nico Veldman in P3 with 220 points. I'm not entirely sure. There must have been, there should be a lot of positions that he must be quite far back in the grid at the end of the race. Those things actually happen there, or the other two might have been. Sorry, my English today. You get what I mean. You know, they need a difference of 16 points to actually change something. Is it 16 points? No, it is 26 points. Anyways, I don't expect the change there then. Sorry for that confusion. We have Sarina Soranovic in P4. Behind we have Andrea Adona in P5. Mirka Setarash in P6 with 90 points, and Horacio Messina only with a 4 points difference behind him in P7. Kenneth Reyes, who, if I understood that correctly, has a qualifying ban today, so he will not be going out for the qualifying today because of an incident in the last race. Andrei Oreshkin behind in P9, Barry Gibbons in P10, Adam Modan in P11, and P12 Ben Milden, Fabio Galamini in P13. Behind him, Christoph Petersen, who we have only seen... he is already withdrawn from the race. I'm sorry for that. We have Jake Deschamps, who was only appearing for 2 races, and then there's Tomasz Knopek, who is there today, who took P1 on Silverstone, if I remember that correctly. He is there also today, an incredibly quick driver. And behind the others that are here, I haven't seen on the survey yet. Jumping over to the Pro-Am standing, we have Sebastian Rübsam in P1, who has been very consistent in the beginning in winning races, and very quick as well, but he is not taking part in the race today, if I saw that correctly. Behind him we have Nika Kopaleshvili with 1 point difference, so also there is a fight for the lead of the league, a fight for the league of the league happening. What the hell is wrong today? Behind we have Jeremy Gore in P3, Luca Grinetti in P4, Rosario Pace in P5, Jason Janssens in P6, Simon Turner in P7. Also, there might still be some changes for the last 2 races. Peter Davidson in P8, João Pedro Sodre in P9, Lubomir Biswas in P10, Dennis Kimetto in P11, who we have seen for 2 races only, but also with quite a consistent result. Justin Posowski in P11. Tom Ferrier, who is on the server right now, if I saw that right. Aguedo Martinez. And then behind we have Simon Bragg, who only appeared in the last 2 races. Jordan Rocher, probably also there. Jonas Wiet in P17, but they are all withdrawn. Moset Rambi also withdrew from the league. Yeah. Daniel Trampaio also withdrew, so as far as I can see, we have 19 drivers on the server, so we will head back over to the server. I'm sorry, today with my organization I'm a bit off. Maybe it has been 2 weeks that I didn't do that. We are not there yet. OBS, there we are. Main screen, wonderful. I always love when people narrate what they're doing. So there we are, gaps are activated, and we're looking at Tom Ferrier, who just now set the quickest lap of the Pro-Ams with a 2 minutes 18. I am expecting some 2 minutes 16 times in the Pros. Yeah, let's see what's going on. There's still improvement because the drivers are out now for roughly, what is it, for roughly 12 minutes. Was I saying something wrong? The qualifying should be 24 minutes. Ah, no, okay, they're out for 6 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna stick with Tom for a second, and I'm gonna have a drink of water. So the track of Spa-Francorchamps is 7 kilometers long with 19 or 20 corners depending on how you count it. On Spa there was the first race in 1925 already, and in 1979 the track was rebuilt to the current layout that we have today. The old layout was 14 kilometers long. Was a bit more sketchy because it was also like country roads, and people tended to die a lot. Let's see, Tom Ferrier still in the lead of the Pro-Ams. Now starting a fresh lap, but we can jump to Simon Bragg, who is coming through the bus stop chicane into La Source. I had quite some trouble to figure out all the corner names because at least for the corners 10 to 16 there's roughly 2 sets of names existing for each one of them. But we are quite certain that the corner that Simon is coming up to is En Rouge. The end on the top of this steep climb is Radillon, and then he's heading down Camel Straight. For now, it doesn't look like he's improving the time. So that corner is named Brussels, and the next corner didn't have a name for quite some time, is now Jackie X corner, and it was also named Speaker's Corner before because it was the first corner that the speakers could see from their old booth when they were turning around and looking up the mountain before all these TV transmissions were activated. Maybe let's go to the interior cam to get a better understanding of the track. We go. This, I adjusted the audio volume now. It is still screaming in my headphones, but it is not screaming in the stream. So this corner is called Campus because on the right side there's I think it's a mechanical engineering campus. It is connected to cars heading into Paul Ferré. Yeah, it should be Paul Ferré corner. Now coming into turn 17, Blanchimont, and coming up to the bus stop chicane. Tight braking zone, sometimes a little bit diagonally, down to first gear and accelerating out on the start and finish straight. Into T1 La Source. And this left-hand kink, the left-hand corner that you can see here, is called Rouge because there's a little river running underneath the track that is literally translated to Red River, and it has a lot of iron inside, so it's red. This is up to Radillon and down the Camel Strait that before 1979 was a series of fast turns, and then for the building of the GP circuit they were straightened out now into Lecombe. And some people call the third corner here, this right-hander, they call it Malmedy. The original track was going off to the left into the countryside, into Brussels, and there we are back at where we started our little lap here with Simon. In Speaker's Corner, No Name Corner, Jackie X Corner. The left-hand corner, the long double left that is coming up here is called Pouhon. The Belgians also call it Le Double Gauche, which shouldn't mean the double left, if I'm not mistaken. I had 2 years of French, but nothing is in my brain. So we are out in the TV camera because I also couldn't stand the volume screaming in my headphone anymore. So the qualifying session should be over except for the drivers that managed to start the next lap in the next 30 seconds, and then we will see the pros. So Tom Ferrier still in P1, Jeremy Gore behind him in P2 with a gap of 1/10. Simon Bragg with 7/10 behind him. Then we have in P4 we have Dennis Imeto behind him, Rosario Pace in P5 of the Pro-Am drivers, Davidson in P6 and Simon Turner in P7. Jeremy Gore just took the lead. Oh, that was it was 500th of a gap that he managed to create there to Tom Ferrier. So Jeremy Gore takes the lead, and now the pro drivers are heading out on track. If you're watching the live stream, also feel free to write something in the chat. Feel free to ask questions, of course. I will try to answer them as best as I can. And also, it's also just nice to have a little technical checkup if the volume of the stream and of the microphone in relation to the game audio is correct. In my last sound check, I raised the audio of the cars quite a bit in order to give you a bit more of an immersive feeling, because I don't like when you don't hear the cars in the background, because then my voice is so much in focus. And you know, it is about the racing after all. Hi, Rosario. Am I pronouncing your name right? Yeah, it should be Pace, isn't it? Or is Pace what you prefer? Once you're here in the chat, I can actually ask you. So the first car heading out on track is Grigory Ivanov. And we're gonna take a look what his lap time is going to be. I'm expecting a very good lap time from him, because usually he's all the way in the front. I'm also interested what Tomasz Konopek is going to, how he is going to drive today. As I said before, I think the last time we saw him was at Silverstone. There's Michael Firth, who is joining us for the second time in this league, and also for the first time in the stream. I haven't seen him before. He seemed to have some hardware issues that he needed to replace and sort out until he could join us again. So we can see him for the first time. I sometimes find myself incredibly funny. Let's see about that. So due to the high temperature, with a 29 degrees average temperature and a 36 degrees of track temperature, the tires will be quite hot, and I assume that the drivers had to adjust their brake ducts as well to leave some more fresh air onto the brakes. But let's take a look at Ivanov coming in for the first valid lap. And the first lap is at 2 minutes 16.4. Davy Hill goes to P2 for now, a provisional P2 with a 2 minutes 17.8. And now we can already see the white number plates that you can see on the left side of your screen. Those are the pro drivers jumping ahead of the Pro-Am drivers with the gray number plates. Messina takes P3. Take a look at Tomasz Konopek going for the second lap of this qualifying session. So Spa is a very technical track. Also has a lot of high-speed sections, especially coming up to Camel Straight. You can really see the difference in the top speed, and also if the drivers manage to get through Eau Rouge and Radillon properly. It takes quite a while to have this corner figured out, going flat out, but once you manage to do that, you can gain massive times on the straight. Also, for some cars in the McLaren, I used to switch off the traction control coming up the hill, because that would give me another, I don't know, another 100th, maybe another 10th even. Also this section here, where we can see Tomasz Konopek a little lift off in this corner to get the car to rotate in the back. And now coming out of Campus and Stavelo is also very important to get that right. Depending on how your tires are, also you tend to drift out, you tend to understeer a little bit to the outside, and you can invalid your lap quite easily there. But you have to take a lot of force, a lot of speed onto the straight now with Blanchimont corner here into the bus stop, getting the car slowed down from the high speed section into that chicane. And I can see Konopek lost the rear of the Porsche a little bit there. I wonder where he's going to end up. Yeah, he goes into P2 with a gap of 4/10 to Ivanov. And he's back in the pits, probably grabbing some fuel and some tires, because there is 4 minutes and 40 left in the qualifying session. So I think it might be possible for him to drive another lap. It can also be that he calls it a day and waits for the race to start from P2. So at the moment, Ivanov in P1, Knopek in P2, Davy Hill in P3, Adam Modan in P4, Michael Firth in P5, behind him Adona, and then we have Messina in P7. These are the pro drivers. There's Jeremy Gore starting in P1 for the Pro-Ams, and then there's Tom Ferrier in P10. Kenneth Race, as I said earlier, we can see him sitting in the pits because of a penalty. For the last race, he's banned from qualifying and will be starting all the way at the back of the grid with 19 cars. Nico Weltmann now also out on track. As far as I can see, this could be a valid lap for him already. Yes, it is. It is 2 minutes 18.3. Oh, we can watch Adona, who has 3/10 on the clock right now, coming into the back straight into Blanchimont. And with this improvement, he should put himself into P5. Let's see if he manages to gain some more time in the chicane. Yes, he did. Almost half a second now. And it is P5 for Adone. So we are with Nico Weltmann coming up towards I wanted to say Lecom. No, this one is faint. I think T13. Yeah, these are the corners that I was the most confused about. The 13 and 14, very unclear. So this should be Paul Frere corner, the Paul Frere corner. So Nico Weltmann with almost half a second of improvement, which will roughly put him into P8, maybe in front of the pro drivers. Now almost 1 second, 8/10 of improvement, and that should put him into P5 actually. Now it is P6 for Nico Weltmann. Still 1 minute of qualifying to go, so last lap for Nico Weltmann, and maybe Adone will manage to start another new lap, a fresh lap. There's still some drivers on the track. I'll have to pay attention to him. Nico Weltmann with a bit of a drift in Radillon. That was quite interesting. Oh, at the moment I can see Messina with almost half a second of improvement on a valid lap. Now heading towards Blanchimont. I'm not sure who it is in front of him. It is Ivanov in front of him, who is currently in P1. So Messina, I think, just invalidated his lap, at least from my screen, what I can see here. No, it was a valid lap with a 2 minutes 17.2. He puts himself into P4 before Adam Modan. And there's Jake Deschamps coming in. Not sure if this is going to be an improvement. I think it was an improvement, but not an improvement of the position. So Michael Firth now still in speaker's corner. Into Pouhon. Apparently the Belgians call this corner Piff Puff corner. And I cannot read my own notes. Fangs, something like this. I'll probably just call it Piff Puff because it's funny. We have Knoppek on track, Davy Hill with a very tight gap behind. It's just a difference of 500th. And Thomas Knoppek also now with a 1/10 of improvement. We're gonna go take a look at him rather than let's see if Knoppek manages to find a bit more time. But he's just gonna be closer behind Ivanov. Yeah. So, in a moment the server will set to the grid, and then we will do a little grid walk. So in P1 of the race we have Ivanov. In P2 we have Thomas Knoppek. In P3 we have Davy Hill. Behind him we have Messina in P4. And we have Adam Modan P5. Andrea Adone in P6. Nico Weltman in P7 behind him in the Formula Racing League livery. Then we have Michael Firth in P8. Amir Kasetaraj in P9. Jeremy Gore in P10. Tom Ferrier in P11. Barry Gibbons in P12. Jake Deschamps in Deschamps. I'm not 100% certain. It says he's American, so I don't know how to pronounce the name. In P13 we have Simon Bragg in P14. Dennis Kimetto in P15. Rosario Pace in P16. Sorry. We have Peter Davidson in P17. We have Simon Turner in position 18, and we have Kenneth Reyes in P19 starting in the back of the grid. For the Pro-Ams, Jeremy Gore is leading. Tom Ferrier is in P2. Simon Bragg is in P3. There's Dennis Kimetto in P4. Rosario Pace starting in P5. So now in a minute the drivers will start their formation lap to warm up the tires and warm up the brakes a little bit. When I'm listening to the commentators in the background that you can also hear on stream, I have heard this so many times, it's already a little bit annoying. Hi Timo, good you're here. Thank you. I'm trying my best with the audio. So something very interesting that I found out when I was researching for the track researching the corner names, the little creek that is running through the bottom of the track at Eau Rouge was the border between Belgium and the German Empire until 1920. So basically the track was divided in half. I mean, it wasn't actually divided, but that was the border between the two countries. Found that. It's just a fun fact. For some reason today the livery of Grigory Ivanov is not loading properly. He normally has another livery. So anyways, Davy Hill in 3rd place and Grigory Ivanov have the same points in the standing. So their battle is actually quite important because there's only 2 races left. This week it's Spa and next week it will be Misano. Nico Weltmann in the overall standing in P3 has a bit of a gap than Tomasz Knopek, who we can see in P2 right now. Has only taken part in 1 race, that was Silverstone, and that race he won. So I do have high expectations. Yeah, what else is there to talk about? We have Jake Deschamps with the only BMW on track, and we have Kenneth Race with the only Aston Martin on track. This is going to be quite interesting because he has to work his way through all the Pro-Am drivers. The Pro and the Pro-Am drivers are on completely different points. So basically only the position within their class counts for the league. And there's usually not much sense in fighting each other. So what we might see is that Barry Gibbons and Jake Deschamps will move to the front, overtaking Jeremy Gore and Tom Ferrier, which, yeah, it entirely depends on the pace of these 2 Pro-Am drivers, if they manage to stay in front. So just now for you, of the viewers, to have a better understanding of what is going to happen. For the start now, in front the red car is Ivanov, behind him the greenish car is Knopek, then we have Hill and Messina behind. The cars look rather similar, but Davy Hill is driving the Formula Racing League livery, and Messina has this white and blue Ford. Modan behind him in the red McLaren, and then we have Adona, another Ford, another Italian if I'm not mistaken, right behind him. So the drivers are in double file and we are heading for a race start. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 7th race of Masters of Assetto Corsa Competizione, hosted by Formula Racing League, sponsored by SimGrid Racing, is on in a few seconds. The light will turn green and we'll start the racing. Oh yeah, I forgot that the race start is on the downhill towards Eau Rouge and not at the actual start-finish straight. If I remember correctly, this is a procedure that was put in place for higher safety, because there were a lot of crashes in La Source in the past. And let's see how this goes. Everybody's in position and we are off. We have a drive-through for wrong starting position for Kassetarash. In the beginning we have a little bit of contact between Knopek and Ivanov. Knopek goes through with the green Porsche in the front. Ivanov now losing 2 positions already behind him. Messina maybe with a bit of a better exit on Camel Straight. Now going side by side into the combs, trying to hold the inside line, but Ivanov loses another 2 positions. Then also Modan and Messina side by side, but Messina manages to make the pass in the back. We're going to take a little look there because there's also Adone with a little bit of contact, if I saw that correctly, by Veltman. So Ivanov behind Hill, trying to fight back the 2 positions that he just lost. And then we have Nico Veltman behind Adone. Oh, that was close. I think he had to move to the outside there because someone was in a different braking. And there's Michael Firth now right behind Veltman. So there's a nice little train between, I think it should be Modan. No, this is not Modan, sorry. Between Veltman in front, behind him Firth, Kassetarash with a bit of a gap there. Gore, Ferrier, Gibbons, Deschamps, all very close together. Gibbons now almost going 3 wide into the corner, and who's coming into the pits there? It must be, yeah, it is Kassetarash with a drive-through. Now some shuffling going on here. 2 times 2 wide into La Source. And now let's see between Messina and Modan who is going to be the leader of this little drag race up Camel Straight. They're gonna be with Modan here. Side by side into Lecombe, but Messina on a defensive line manages to keep the position. There's a yellow flag by Firth, who now fell back a lot of positions. I'm gonna go into a little replay there for the last 15 seconds. What happened there? There was some contact in Lecombe. Fortunately 15 seconds wasn't enough, but it was a tight grouping there with all the Pro-Ams, and there must have been some contact. Now Kimetto right behind Pace. Ooh. And Pace missed his braking point. It seems like a little bit there, coming into Pouhon, and Kimetto now on the outside line for the next corner, but doesn't manage to make the overtake stick. So we are on the 2nd lap of the race, roughly 4 minutes in. Barry Gibbons is also behind Gore, who is a Pro-Am driver, so we might see that Gore lets him pass in the next few corners. And behind him we have Kenneth Reyes, who already managed to move up 8 positions through the Pro-Am drivers. Now almost at the back. Oh, actually already gained 1 position in the Pro-Ams. front we have Tomasz Knopek and Ivanov with exactly the same lap time, 2 minutes 17.360. But Knopek now driving away a little bit here in the front with a 2 seconds gap to Davy Hill. Ivanov behind Hill. Behind in P4 Messina, who is still battling with Modan on Camel Straight. This is already the second lap. Maybe we can... Yeah, as I said, Gibbons... Gore let Gibbons through and is now in P9. And also Kenneth Reyes is going through. Stick with this little train that we have here. Maybe let's go to the interior cam to see a bit perspective. The audio level should be adjusted now. Wonderful. In this double left-hander with 3 cars in front of him. Jeremy Gore, who is in a different class, right in front of Deschamps, who we are watching right now. We will actually jump ahead 2 cars to Kenneth Reyes because he might be attacking towards Blanchimont. He might be attacking Barry Gibbons towards Blanchimont. Or into the bus stop. Let's see if Gibbons takes a defensive line. No, he does not. And Reyes is going for the dive on the inside, actually. Leaving enough space, as it looks like now, trying to get them more grip on the outside line. And doesn't manage to make the pass. That is very safe driving. Very respectful driving, I would say. And again, into La Source, a little bit of a overlap there in the braking zone. And now maybe let's see if they are going to go side by side into En Rouge and Radillon. It usually is not the best idea. And Reyes manages to make the pass. I assume that Gibbons was lifting a little bit there, and I was immediately under pressure by Gore. Michael Firth again with the yellow flag, losing 2 positions. And that looks like a crash in Radillon. Oh, there's a lot of drivers there, so could have been anyone. We're watching a replay of what happened there right now. In the back, the black car is Michael Firth. No, it doesn't look like he is actually in contact with anyone. Yeah, he lost the rear a little bit and straight into the barrier. That is a lot of damage. Oh, we're jumping back to Jeremy Gore. Behind Gibbons, they're not fighting for position. Yeah, Jeremy, the Pro-Am driver that we are watching right now here, is not fighting for position with Barry Gibbons, but if Gibbons doesn't manage to pull ahead within the next laps, then that might be an interesting situation there. Nico Weltmann now also going through into 7th position. Yeah, and Gore actually tries to overtake again. Going too wide into the bus stop. Gibbons now on the inside line for La Source. Oh, let's watch this from Rosario's position here in the back. What is happening there? We are with Rosario Parche, 3 cars, 3 wide in last source, and there has been an accident. I can see three yellow flags there, and we are going to take a look at the last 30 seconds what happened there. Oh, the audio was just gone. I'm sorry for that. There it is back up. Okay, that is Simon Bragg with the yellow flag, who was technically not involved. I'm sorry for that. Was technically not involved with the incident, but might have crashed into the rear of the two drivers in the front. Yeah, that is also very unfortunate for Bragg. I'm sorry, I jumped for the wrong car to the wrong car for the replay. So Barry Gibbons and Jake Deschamps now in the pits at the moment because of the crash. So now with this crash, I also think we lost the tightest gaps here. There's only a Rosario Pace behind Gore. Yeah, that was very unfortunate what happened there in Rouge Radillon. But it is a very difficult corner to navigate when you're too wide. It is possible to do it, but it is very, very, very tricky. But what I can see now is that Ivanov passed Hill again. Ivanov, who fell back into P3 at the beginning of the race, is now in P2 again, trying to hunt down Knoppek. Also with a quicker lap now. I mean, it is 600th, so it is not much of a pace difference between Knoppek and Ivanov. Knoppek here in front in the Porsche, and then the red car that you can see coming up in the back. Maybe with this camera you can see him a little bit better. In the back, the red car is Ivanov, who's hunting him. And behind Ivanov we have Davy Hill. Actually with a closer gap now. I don't really know when the overtake happened. And then there's Adam Modan, Messina and Adone with exactly 1 second gap to each other. Now from what I can see, a lot of drivers already left the server. We only have 15 cars left on the server. So what I can see is, let me see if I find the statistics. No, they are not even showing up in the statistics again. Michael Firth left the server for sure. And with the rest I will have to see. Kenneth Reyes now not the last position anymore. He managed to make his way through the Pro-Ams and is now behind Tom Ferrier and in P8 of the pro drivers. P8 out of 9 pro drivers. So 14 minutes in, we already have almost no gap below 1 second anymore. That is surprising. It usually takes a bit longer, but I think the crash at least took out 3 or 4. Sorry, just bumped my table. Took out at least 3 to 4 drivers. And I assume that some of them left the server for that reason. Because with a certain amount of damage, there's just no point in going back to the pits and then repairing the car. The only one that I can see sitting in the pits is Simon Bragg, and I think Assetto also had some kind of incident early on, went to the pits and repaired his car, but the game doesn't show him as completed the pit stops, because I think when you return to pits, it doesn't count as a normal pit stop. It basically just says, yeah, it's nice that you return to the pits, but that doesn't count. So Simon Bragg now out of the pits. He did his pit stop. Ivanov was disconnected from the server for a second. As far as I can remember, I also saw him writing in the Discord chat that he had issues with his internet, so that might be the problem here. Let's hope that he stays. So we're gonna watch Adone for a little bit. The PRT Esport Ford, and in front of him we have Messina in another Ford. Yeah, Messina and Adone, both drivers from Italy, having a little national battle going on as well here. Already through the whole championship. I think I saw them together quite a lot. I'm not 100% sure about it though. Seems like all the Fords on track at the moment are also Italian. There's also Rosario Pace in the Ford. And it is also the PRT livery, so I do assume that at least Pace and Adone are driving in the same team. So here we have them again, Messina in front with the blue and white Ford, and behind Adone in the PRT racing livery. Yeah, as far as I can see, there are some, it looks a little bit like there are some server issues. It seems like one driver at least is disconnecting a little bit. So at the moment, Tomasz Knopek still in the lead. Behind him, Grigory Ivanov in P2. In P3 we have Davy Hill all coming through the chicane right now. Then we have Adam Modan. Then we have Horacio Messina in P5. Adone in P6, unchanged. Nico Veldman in P7. I think Veldman also started. Let me just check. Yeah, Veldman also started in P7, Adone also started in P7. Then we have Tom Ferrier, who has gained 3 positions. And then behind we have Kenneth Reyes in P9, Jeremy Gore in P10, Rosario Pace in P11, that is P3 of the Pro-Ams. Gore in front is P2. Peter Davidson in P12, Simon Turner in P13, Casseterash in P14 after the incident. Earlier on, he lost 5 positions in total at the moment. Simon Bragg in P15, who seems like he repaired the car, because he was the third person, I think the third person or fourth person involved in the crash in En Rouge. So that's the field at the moment, 15 drivers. No very tight gaps at the moment, so now it is about having consistency, being consistent, driving consistently, quick laps. We can take a look at Ivanov currently with 3.1 seconds of a gap to Tomasz Knopek, and we can watch him and how he is trying to close the gap. Actually, something that I was unaware of earlier when the audio was gone of the game. I'm not sure if that was for longer than I thought. I hope not. Ivanov also with the quickest lap of the race and with 3/10 of a quicker lap than Knopek in P1. So there is a little group forming from, a little train forming from Davy Hill with Modan behind, Messina and Adone, who have roughly the same distance of exactly 2 seconds. Actually, it's exactly 1.9 seconds, P4, P5 and P6. Something I wanted to check earlier as well. I can check now the statistics. So Ivanov with the Ferrari has the highest top speed on Camel Straight with 277 kilometers per hour, which is already 3 kilometers per hour quicker than Knopek. And the next one is Messina in the Ford with 75 kilometers per hour. Something interesting I also noticed is that the Ford has the highest ballast added, 26 kilos, tightly followed by the McLaren with 8 kilos. I mean, not tightly followed, but that's basically the second position of ballast added on this track. Adone and Modan currently both with an invalid lap, or the last lap was invalid. Modan coming in to the pits after 23 seconds, 23 minutes of the race. Which is quite early, or at least it's not exactly the halfway point, but we see Modan also came in. Oh, I just said that, right? It's because the entrance, the pit stop entrance is very long in Spa. That's also why the drive-through penalties hurt so much here. The race is hunting down Ferrier, and I also assume that he will catch up to him in the next laps. Because the last lap time of Ferrier was 2 minutes 20.6, and the last lap time by Kenneth Race was 2 minutes 18.9. Into Brussels, there's 2 lines on the track. You can either try to really hook it around on the inside, or you can do a little double apex there. Turner with the yellow flag. That looks like at the end of the Camel Straight. Maybe just lost the back there. Let's see. Yeah, something that happens quite easily if you misjudge your trail braking, or you hook the left side tires a little bit on this on the curbs. Davidson now also with a yellow flag. What is happening here? And that was in the double left in Pujon. That was very interesting. I couldn't really see what happened there. And he tried to catch it, but he didn't. It looked very strange. That really looked very strange, like the front tire kind of hooked him or something like this, and then the back of the car spun around. Let's take a look at the lap times that P7, Ferrier and Reyes drive now. Yeah, Reyes only 0.2 quicker. Modan is now out of the pits and in P14, but should have some clear track in front of him to make good time before the others are coming in to the pits for their pit stop. Kenneth Reyes now very close behind. And I think that Ferrier lifted a little bit there. I think he let him through. No, he's holding against. He is defending the position, but Kenneth Reyes on the inside line. Now also going for the defensive line into Brussels. And that worked. Sometimes the defensive line does work. So now there's the Pro-Ams also kind of sorted. There's only Casetarash and Modan in the Pro-Ams. You can see it on the left side of your screen. Ferrier with the first in P1 with a grey number plate. Then now only 4 seconds behind is Jeremy Gore, Rosario Pace in P3. Rosario Pace with a 5-second gap. So, and also Ferrier lost more time than I expected, because Jeremy Gore, you can see him, you can see the red car of Tom Ferrier who crashed out in Blanchimont. Let's take a little look at what happened there. Maybe we go to the helicam. Tom Ferrier now currently falling back 3 positions. We are just watching a replay. That is very strange. Too much inside curve, and maybe then lifted as well. You lift the throttle there, all the weight of the car goes to the front, and sometimes you lose the rear there. Not all the weight goes to the front, but some of the weight goes to the front, and then you lose the pressure on the rear. So never lift in Blanchimont. It is flat out, and otherwise you get the lift of oversteer. We have Pace, Ferrier and Davidson now in the pits. And we are coming up to the pit stops of the race. The Casetara are still on track now. I will take a little look at the statistics and find out how long the standing time in the pits is. Yeah, there we are. So Adam Modan was in the pits for 1 minute 48 with a standing time of 34 seconds. So Jeremy Gore at the moment the only driver on track that is not didn't go in the pits. So it looks like Pace and Ferrier are leaving the pits very, very tight together. This is a battle for position. Gonna take a look at the statistics. Yeah, Rosario Pace was in the pits for 3 seconds longer than Ferrier. No, it was 4 seconds longer, so that's how this change happened. I'm not sure if it was a change of position, but at least the gap got a lot tighter. And now there's also Ivanov, Messina and Adone coming in. Ivanov, who was in P2. Tomasz Knopek still out on track. Also between Adone and Messina there's a very tight gap in the pits. I think the gap in between them before the pit stop was like 2 seconds. I think Rosario Pace was in P3 before the pit stops and is now in P2. It kind of makes sense with the quicker pit stops. And we're gonna take a look. Yes, the pit stop was 4 seconds quicker. And now we have a battle going on. Also Messina and Adone will leave the pits now very quickly. And there is barely half a second of a gap in between them when coming out of the pit. So we're looking at Adone in the back and Messina in front, and I also think I've seen them in a different constellation before, but they had roughly the same standing time. Adone 1 second quicker with 32 seconds in the pits. They took exactly the same time. So 2 battles that are interesting at the moment, I think. Yeah, there's all of the leading 3, Knopek, Hill, and Veltman coming into the pits at the moment. Kasetarash now also in the pits. Why is the car already scratched in the front? Oh. So let's see. Davy Hill is still in the pits. Knopek also in the pits. Knopek was in P1 before the pit stop, and then there is... Hello, where is he? Ivanov is here. Now heading for the bus stop chicane. Davy Hill, I can see him moving in the pits now. No, Knopek is... I'm sorry for that. It's a bit confusing, but they should all be moving now. Yeah, Knopek is rolling. Davy Hill not yet. Knopek is rolling, and we can see Ivanov heading down to La Source. And Knopek will come out in front of him, but with a significantly slower exit speed. A significantly slower exit from the pits. So now Ivanov at the moment only 1.3 seconds behind him. Davy Hill P3, 8 seconds behind Ivanov. So this is going to be interesting. Still, as long as Ivanov is in front of Hill for this race, then he will also keep his position in the overall league. Take a look at Adorno. Adorno and Messina are they are some points apart in the overall standing. Some things seem to have happened between Rosario Pace and Tom Ferrer, because Ferrer is now in P11 and Pace in P10 again. Oh, that's correct. That's correct. Nothing happened. I'm sorry for that confusion. It is quite incredible. You don't do the commentary for 2 weeks and I feel like I'm completely out of shape and I don't know what all these numbers mean here. Let's take a look at this developing fight between the leaders of the race, Konopek and Ivanov. Ivanov in the red Ferrari there, and Konopek in the green Porsche in front. Konopek, who already was out for one more lap, maybe has the warmer tires now, and Ivanov behind. Not sure which cars actually have an advantage on this track with a high temperature, or in general with a high temperature, but I know that there are significant differences between the cars when the temperature is very high. Again, Tomasz Konopek, every time he turns up, he takes a very good position. But I mean, I'm not 100% sure how the contact in the first lap or in T1 happened, but there was some contact because Ivanov started in P1, if I remember correctly, and Konopek passed him in the first seconds of the race. Oh, I don't know, 1/10 quicker than Messina in front on the last lap, and now the gap is down to 4/10. But I am ready to jump back to the leaders of the race. In case I see anything happening there. They're now heading down to Rouge, but the gap is still half a second now also between Adorno and Messina. The gap is half a second, and I will see how they manage to get into the braking zone. The gaps always seem to become smaller, but they're not. The leaders are on Camel Straight, and it seems like Ivanov got a bit of a better exit. And Konopek going for a defensive line on the inside. On the outside we have... Oh, that is tight. And there's a little bit of contact there. Konopek manages to stay on the outside for now. No, this is Ivanov. Ivanov just overtook Konopek on the outside line. Wow. With a bit of rubbing. But incredible close overtake there. Wow. So we will stay with Konopek for this lap. You can see the distance is still not too big. That was very close. That was very close, and I'm sorry for the confusion that happened there, but obviously it was Ivanov on the outside line. Veltman with a bit of a yellow flag, but seems to be moving again. Maybe that was just an off track. Tom Ferrier now with a yellow flag. We're gonna jump there quickly and see what happened in the last 30 seconds. This is again in Lecombe, into Malmedy corner, down to Brussels. And it seems like there was also another disconnect, so you guys know. Yeah, a bit too early on the throttle in Brussels. So that kind of ends the fight there between Ferrier and Pace. And it seems like Ferrier has also left the server. Yeah, he left the server, and that might actually have implications for the championship standings. No, it doesn't. Tetras behind Davidson in Blanchimont. Maybe Davidson will just let him pass because they're not fighting for position. Yeah, Caceres going on the inside and passing Davidson. So it's something very interesting if I look at the overall standing here, that there are three drivers who are Messina, Reis, Oreshkin, Gibbons, Modan, Messina and Adone, who I can see are constantly between P6 and P7 or P8 at the end of the race, and that is quite some tight fights there. And it is the same again now. Modan in P4, behind him we have Messina and Adone fighting Messina with half a second of a gap. Have Turner with a yellow flag on Camel Straight. Yeah, also Radillon. It is very difficult. If you come through this dent of Rouge and then go up, you cannot really see the exit of the turn. And if you make a bit of a mistake on the entry already, you will end up in the barrier on the exit. Now the last lap was, I think, also the last lap by Ivanov was the first 2 minutes 16 that I saw this race, and that is 3/10 quicker than Knoppek. I think there's Turner in Brussels. Turner in Brussels sounds funny, yeah. Turner that was standing on the outside of the Brussels turn, and now also left the server, returned to the pits, and then left the server. If I remember correctly, it was Caceres with the drive-through in the beginning. That's why he's all the way in the back. Yeah. So Ivanov, after losing 3 positions in the beginning of the race, is now back in P1. Behind we have Tomasz Knoppek with a bit below 1 second of a gap, then followed by Davy Hill in P3 with comfortable 10 seconds to the front. I mean, it's not comfortable for Davy Hill, it's comfortable for Knoppek, to be honest. Behind in P4 we have Modan with a 4.3 seconds gap to the front. Then we have Messina with a 3.9 seconds gap to the front, directly followed by Adone. Quickly check the statistics. Yeah. So Adone is still in a starting position. Messina lost 1 position to Modan already and is already for the last 3 laps under threat by Adone. But both of them obviously driving roughly the same lap time, or very similar lap times, so not much happening there. The gap between Ivanov and Knopek has also widened a little bit. It is at roughly 1 second right now. Oh, Ivanov just disconnected for a second, but is back on the server. That is probably the only thing that can... I mean, I wouldn't say only thing, but this is a bit sketchy, because I think I've seen him slightly disconnect for a few times already this race. So that can actually cost him a lot of time, and also the race in case something happens. I'm not exactly sure how many of the Pro-Am drivers we had on the track in the beginning of the race, but now we have 4 that are left over after 47 minutes of racing. I'm sorry, math was never my strength, so it always takes a little bit of time for me to calculate things. So basically this is the battle to focus on. You can hear the Ford. The driver you can see in front is Messina, and the McLaren, the red McLaren that is all the way in the front there, is Modan. Now here into Eau Rouge, trying to get a bit onto the curb, even on the right side, not trying to avoid getting a cut in Radillon, because you cannot see the exit. It's also very difficult to stay within the track limits. Hard on the braking here, roughly where the curb starts, then nicely trail braking into Lecombe and into Malmedy. Not sure if Adone was braking there. Also here, when the curb starts is roughly the braking zone. I think he was a little bit late on the brakes there, going for a double apex. Then into Speaker's corner or Jackie X corner. Yeah, to me it seems like the board is a bit loose. Also here, a bit late on the brakes in my opinion, but very difficult. I've never been driving the Ford, so difficult for me to judge. A very interesting corner here. You kind of have to just lift the throttle here to get the back of the car to rotate around, and then punch the throttle down again into Campus. Now an important exit here onto the straight. Hopefully without understeering. Without understeering just now as I was saying it. With invalidating the lap, or in the worst case even getting a cut. Blanchimont is flat out around that corner, and one of the few opportunities to overtake properly on the track. Oh, that looks quite good. He was very late on the brakes there. Actually, when you're that tight behind another driver, it's always difficult to judge the braking points. There was Simon Bragg with a blue flag there. Very difficult to judge the braking point, so you have to be on the brake a bit earlier than the driver in front, and then the skill is to loosen the brake again to close the gap while you're basically braking. And basically that was a full lap with Adone here. Let's see this braking point again, the curb on the left side. I think that was better than the lap before. Very careful on the throttle here, not to oversteer. A little tap on the brakes there. And then here, roughly where there's this orange marker on the right side, halfway down this curb, there is a braking point, and then just trail brake slightly into that corner. And then full throttle out of it again. The le double gauche, à gauche, the double left, little lift here. Oh, there's Messina with it, losing the rear of the car slightly, and he's also closing the gap towards Modan in front. So when we started watching this onboard, the gap to Modan was much higher than it is now. So Adone also pushing Messina to drive as quick as he can. Now Adone with a significantly better exit onto the straight. Messina not on the defensive line yet, and Adone also just showing himself in the mirror a little bit. Messina late on the brakes there. Oh yeah, he was a bit late on the brakes, went wide, but manages to still keep the car on track. And 2 minutes 18.5 for Adone, and 2 minutes 18.7 for Messina. So that is where this time difference comes from in the bus stop chicane. That you can hear that Adone was lifting there, because if you get too many track cuts, if you get 3 track cuts, no, actually the 4th track cut will put you into a drive-through penalty automatically by the game, and that is very uncomfortable on Spa because you lose a lot of time. I mean, we can check. The pit stop was about 1 minute 47 minus 30, so you lose about 1 minute 15 with a drive-through penalty. Messina having to tap the brakes a little bit there. There's a lot of pressure. Simon Bragg again with a yellow flag. Front of the packs unchanged. We have 6 minutes and 20 seconds left in this race. So there was a mistake by Adone now in Campus. So I think he lost some time there. Nico Weltmann behind Adone with 15 seconds of a gap, so there is no threat for Adone here. He can really focus on the front. We can change to Messina and take a look at the bumper cam there. Oh, sorry, the wing camera. Maybe to kind of change perspective for a little bit, because we have been watching the back of Messina's car for quite a long time now, so now we can change Now we can change perspective. That was very plain. Yeah, we can change. Let's do change, you know. Oh, that looked like... It sounded like Messina lifted a little bit there. Something that I find very fascinating is that in the corners the gap seems to close, but in fact it's just because of the speed difference compared to the straight that the gap in between the cars seems smaller. But actually, if you time it, obviously it's the same time. Sometimes you can really see drivers gaining a lot of time in the braking zone, but that is very seldom. I don't know, cutting speaker's corner a little bit with some cars, you are able to do that. But to be fair, I don't really like this perspective. It's a bit confusing because you're used to see racing from another perspective. So we're gonna jump back to Adona, but what we can still see is Modan there, the red McLaren in front. But I don't think that the next 4 minutes will be enough to close the gap. That should be roughly 3 laps left of the race. On the left side of your screen, you can still see the standings. So Ivanov again in P1, how he started the race. Knopek behind him. David Hill in P3, which I also think was the original qualifying. Yes. Modan with 1 position gained in P4. Messina with 1 position lost. Still fighting for P5. P6 behind, unchanged, with Aron and Nico Veldman in P7, unchanged. Kenneth Reyes that made his way through all the Pro-Am drivers in P8. Then Jeremy Gore with 1 position gained in P9. Rosario Pace behind him with 6 positions gained. I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but for sure he gained a position on Tom Ferrier, who then disconnected later because he crashed, if I'm not mistaken. Then behind we have Casetaras, who had a drive-through or a crash in the beginning of the race in P11. I'm still looking at the left side of your screen, just going through the positions. In P12 we have Peter Davidson, which is P3 for the Pro-Ams, but apparently most of the Pro-Ams left the race, and there was another mistake by Messina, who's really holding on to that position there for the last, I think it must be 7 laps. I'm not sure if this change even happened in the pits. No, that wasn't the change that happened in the pits. That was another one. Messina with a bad exit there. No chance to get alongside in Blanchimont. Adona stays on track, maybe going for the... they were undecided where to go, but also Messina not with the defensive line. Now Adona trying to make the switchback, trying the outside and then the inside. Maybe now Messina is going to go a bit defensively. Adona right behind him in the slipstream without making a choice yet, just showing himself in the mirrors on the inside, hoping for a better exit out of La Source, which he might even be getting, because that looked quite good. Both of them heading down to En Rouge and Radion now. 3/10 of a gap in between them. That looked good. And let's see. I don't know, with some overspeed, but I don't think he is going to be able to make the overlap happen. Again, showing himself in the mirror. I assume Messina is really sweating in front of him, because that is a tough battle that has been going on for quite some time now. Adone clearly roughly 2/10 quicker, and we are already on the last lap of the race, so this will be the decision if nobody this will be the deciding last corners if Adone doesn't force the issue, both of them on used tires. So also a bit of a fight there, a bit of a struggle, always sliding a bit more than you want to slide, a bit more sensitive on the throttle than you need to be, and you usually are. But now for the last exits to prepare an overtake in the bus stop chicane, you need to have a very good exit here. That doesn't look like it is enough. Ivanov has now finished in P1, Knopek behind, and we're gonna go to the helicam to see Davy Hill in P3. Thomas Knopek just finished in P2, Ivanov. And there's Modan coming in to the start-finish line. Messina and Adone are not fighting anymore. No, there is... Messina manages to maintain his position in P5 and Adone in P6. Nico Weltmann is the next and the next one to come in. So Nico Weltmann unchanged in P7, then Kenneth Reyes, who started all the way from the back in, well, the second last position of the pro drivers. Jeremy Gore in P1 of the Pro-Ams. Rosario Pace. Kenneth Reyes now crossing the finish line. I was jumping ahead a little bit then. Jeremy Gore now crossing the finish line right now. Then behind him, Rosario Pace, P2 in the Pro-Am category. And then there is Gus Setarash. And then there is only Peter Davidson, the last driver on track. And there we are. Masters of Assetto Corsa Competizione for you, hosted by a Formula Racing League, who are sponsored by SimNet Racing. And I had a lot of fun with this race, and we will see each other next week on Misano, Thursday, 8 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock German time or Central European time. Have a pleasant evening. You can see the standing again on the left side of your screen. Have a good one. Ciao, ciao.
pretty fast. Hello.
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 You. Good evening. Right, anyway, night, guys. It's good rest.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
good night.
Cheers, Lee.
You.
Yeah,
Catch you next time.
Yep. Catch you later.
See you Saturday.
Catch you guys later. Have a good.
Weekend.
Oh, what we're doing? We're doing something Saturday. I'm sure we are.
Endurance racing.
6 hours of spa. Yep.
Yeah.
Hooray.
I think that's the one. If I'm in it, I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
Ciao for now.
You.
You.
No idea if I'm doing it or not.
If you want to, you will have to sign up.
Well, it's down to the boss.
Boss man.
Yep. He's the one who signs us up for these things. I don't know who he's picking for it yet. Soon as he says, we'll post it and then we'll do it. So it's down to him, not me. So I'll probably get a message later. Anyone wants to do this? With our team. So now I think there's only me, Golf, Ninja, Sammy, and Philippe and Philip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a bit underwhelming, this one. Not much happened. Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that
you
is
didn't get much
perfectly
to
normal.
do. Yeah. Gotta find something at least. So, yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Classic spa.
Just keep repeating the same factoids to fill in the gap. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spa used to have a little
Brakes
chicane
made
at
of
the end.
Play-Doh.
Well, the chicane. It's like I've got it on rFactor 2, and I've had a Porsche going round it, and it is fast going round there. I've done it with the touring cars Not a good track to do it on. But it's massive, that track. The old-fashioned one.
Old cars, older cars.
I don't have any old ones. I've only got the newer ones. Try I use a new one.
But there's a good workshop content of old cars.
Saying that, I have got a freewheeler I got for doing online lobbies because you got given one. So I've tried that on it, and oh my god, it is scary.
Go have a look. Go have a look at the GTPC. GTPC on the Steam Workshop. They have Group C cars, Group C1, C2s. They are fantastic for the old spa. GTPC.
Where do we find that again?
Steam Workshop for rFactor 2. I'll
Yeah,
paste you a link.
I'm trying to work out where I'm looking at Steam.
Workshop. GTPC.
Oh, it is. And I've got that.
It's in the chat. And here, there's a link to the mods. Yo. It's
Yes.
90 minutes next week on Misano, and I have no idea how Misano looks. I think it's a weird decision for a 90-minute track, but maybe I am wrong.
You decided this.
Misano. Me? No fucking way. No way. No.
No. I'm kidding.
Lies.
I don't know.
I'm drowning in lies.
Almost
Yeah.
being gaslighted.
I'll drive it, but I won't practice. There's no time. No time at all. Misano. So it's a right, left, right. Yeah, I think I know the track. Well, I've driven it before, but I don't know it like people know Spa, you know. But it looks to be a very fast track. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's quite flat.
Yeah, there's like a long part where it's you go down the straight and then it's like a kink off to the right. You don't need a lift, just keep on going round and then back on yourself, then brake hard on the short part, and then you go in go towards the start finish line.
Yep,
Yeah.
I am off too.
Oh, bye bye.
Have a good night, boys.
Yep.